We are now live, Dr. Miller.
Good evening and welcome to the January 14, 2021 board meeting of the Prince George's County Board of Education. Before we begin, I would like to ask everyone to turn off any wireless communication devices to avoid interfering with our meeting. Also, we will be using Zoom's Spanish interpretation services this evening. Ms. Shepherd, would you please make an announcement that Spanish interpretation is available for the meeting by clicking on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen?
Sí, buenas noches todos. Por favor, refiere a la pantalla de su perfil de Zoom y hace el clic en la figura del globo planeta en la parte inferior o abajo de su pantalla. Selecte la fracción del idioma en español para poder escuchar toda la información en su idioma.
Thank you. I am ready to call the meeting to order with my opening remarks. I'm Dr. Juanita Miller, the newly appointed board chair, and it is truly an honor and a privilege to have serve in this position and to have been appointed by our county executive. Also, it's a pleasure to be serving with my new board vice chair, Ms. Sonia Williams. And I'm looking forward to a collaborative, cohesive working environment, working with my colleagues on this board. I want us to continue to build upon success of previous board leadership. And that is, as I just said, working collaboratively and as a team for the success of our students. On that note, let's begin our meeting. Ms. Jackson will lead us in a board prayer and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, may we bow our heads? Oh God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Ellis, would you please call the roll?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we still have to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, I'm anxious. I apologize.
No worries.
We must salute our flag. Thank you.
Colleagues, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Ellis, please call the roll.
Good evening. Mrs. Adams Stafford. Mrs. Adams Stafford.
Here.
Mrs. Ahmed.
Here.
Ms. Boozer Strother.
Here.
Mr. Burrows.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Ms. Jackson.
Present.
Mr. Montero. Mr. Murray.
Here.
Mrs. Queen.
Present.
Mrs. Shepherd.
Here.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Valentine.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Present.
Dr. Miller.
Present. We have a quorum, so we can move on to the adoption of the agenda for January 14th board meeting. May I have a motion to approve our agenda? Ms. Queen, question.
Just clarification, is no hand raising on this, so you're gonna have to actually pay attention to our hands this time. And the next thing is, one things I requested before when we went into executive session is that we would have where people be able to see the closed captions, and I'm not seeing that. I know that some people can adjust their computers, but for ones who don't know, I don't see that staff did it yet. It was a request by one of our constituents, so if we are able to do that, can we please have that done? Thank you.
Well, you're saying that for the record because I don't know. Ms. King would have to address that. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, if I could, Dr. Miller, so we enabled it on Zoom, but it seems as though there must be a third party, there's an additional feature we'll probably have to secure. So we'll have to investigate that so we can definitely make it available for the next meeting.
I believe there's someone also signing right now as well. I don't know if you see that person. There's someone who's doing live sign language.
I do agree, but closed caption is for people who have hearing aid issues. Signing is fine for people who know sign, but we do have people who cannot hear that clear, just like y'all couldn't hear Dr. Golson earlier. So we want to make sure that we are diverse and we cover all of our constituents. So thank you so very much.
And thank you, Ms. Queen, for bringing that to the attention of the board, because we do, I'm familiar with the Hearing Loss Association of America, and that has been one of their concerns in attending our the board meetings and other school-oriented types of meetings that has not been provided. Yes, we have a sign person, but everyone doesn't sign. They just need this, it's an instrument that they use. So thank you, Ms. Queen, for bringing that to the attention of the board. And Ms. King, would you follow up with whoever you need to make sure that happens in future meetings? Now, may I have a motion to approve our agenda?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion was first, the motion has properly been moved and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The motion carries and the agenda has been adopted. Are there any, well, it's been carried, so I should have asked if there were any amendments and any discussion. So evidently there weren't, because you would have brought it to my attention, and I thank you for that. Next, we will have the approval of the board meeting minutes for December 10th. The CEO FY 2022 budget presentation to the board and special board meeting. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved in second. It has been properly moved in second. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Aye. Yes.
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 Any abstentions? Any nays? Then the vote has, the motion passes. Okay. It is now, we'll move into a report of the chair. First, I'd like to offer, for us to take a moment of silence, that you join me in honoring with a moment the memories of the following student and staff members. Rebecca Daidu, a student who was also a senior at Laurel High School. Nelson Odom, technology teacher, Eleanor Roosevelt High School. Andre Cryer, teacher, Largo High School, and husband of Crystal Cryer, Safety and Security Services. Sierra Clemens, teacher, Duval High School. Michelle Maiden, retired. Last job assignment before retirement was secretary 2 at Templeton Elementary. Ms. Salamatu Sai, transportation assistant, Transportation Central Garage Department. Jonathan Hickson, bus driver, Transportation Central Garage Department. Stevie Prather, teacher, Mary Harris, Mother Jones Elementary School. Marilyn Edenlin, food service assistant, supporting food services. And Ms. Zaza Vey Dawkins, teacher, CMIT Academy South. Please continue to keep these families in your thoughts and prayers. I would like to, at this time, call to your attention to the following items. Of course, everyone, and if you aren't aware, Monday, January 18th is a holiday, and schools and offices will be closed in recognition of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. We have 2 hearings and work sessions coming up regarding our fiscal year 2022 proposed operating budget. They will be held on Tuesday, January 19th, the day after the holiday, and February 2nd. Both of those are on Tuesdays. The work sessions will begin at 5 p.m. and our hearings will begin at 7 p.m. Please check our webpage for more information about how to sign up to provide testimony at our hearings. You do not have to sign up to listen to the hearings. Our website also contains information about other upcoming board meetings. Now we can move to the report of the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Monica Golson.
Thank you. Good evening and Happy New Year, board members and our Prince George's County Public School family. I'd like to start my remarks this evening by welcoming our new board chair, Dr. Juanita Miller, and vice chair, Sonia Williams. Welcome on behalf of our students, staff, and the families we serve. We have been fortunate to enter this new year with great news for our community. Through our Alternative Construction Finance Program, formerly known as the PGCPS Blueprint Schools Program, we have secured a $1 million endowed fund to support students and educators, along with student internships, mentoring opportunities, and apprenticeships valued at $4.7 million. From the beginning of this project, we have emphasized the importance of community benefits, and I am pleased to share news of this major investment in our students' futures. In more good news, 13 high school seniors have received POSSE scholarships, which are 4-year full tuition scholarships from the POSSE Foundation's partnering with schools. And I'm even more pleased to acknowledge the student member of the board, Nina Jackson, who is one of those students. It was great to see our Prince George's County Public School scholars in last night's awards program, and I am extremely proud of each of them. I want to express my appreciation to everyone, including our board members who attended the community conversations around our comprehensive school boundary initiative. We have held 4 meetings to date, north, central, and southern part of the county, and a Spanish meeting, which we will have another Spanish language meeting scheduled for Wednesday, January 27th at 6:30 p.m. More information is available on the Prince George's County Public School website. This is a year-long process with much more information to come, and I encourage everyone to stay involved at each step. This coming Monday, we will commemorate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. During these times, I hope that we look to his example in creating a more just nation. As a reminder, all schools and offices will be closed Monday for this momentous holiday. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Golson. Now we will move to the public comment for those members of the public who signed up to provide written or electronic public comments. All 15 slots have been filled. Those testimonies have been or will be posted on board docs for review by board members and the public. Next on our agenda is the Chief Executive Officer's recommendation for school safety and security. Dr. Golson, I will turn it over to you to present your safety and security recommendations.
Thank you. Mr. Rose, if you can post the PowerPoint. Thank you. And while he's doing that, I'll go ahead and just start part of the presentation. Good evening. Tonight's presentation is a summary of our school resource officers report submitted to the Board of Ed on Friday, January 7th, 2021, as required. I'm sorry, we're waiting to get.
Yeah, give me 1 second, Mom. My computer is freezing up. It's 1 second.
No problem.
Dr. Golson, is that your dog as well, or I'm just curious?
Yeah, it is, and now that's been taken care of as well. Her name used to be Zion,
And now it's
Quiet Zion.
Well, she wanted to get a report.
I do apologize, and we will have it up soon.
No problem. They part of the family. They part of the
I apologize. Miss, I'm going to have to send it to Suzanne, and Suzanne, you may have to post it because it won't allow me to share it from my side.
Mr. Rhodes, is that the posted PDF presentation on Board Docs?
Yes, we can use that.
Okay. Let's see if I can do that
I
rather
apologize. It
quickly.
just wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me share it from my side.
Okay. All right, can everyone see it okay?
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you to the public for being patient with us. Let's start again. Good evening. Tonight's presentation is a summary of the School Resource Officer's report submitted to the Board of Education on Friday, January 7th, 2021, as required in a previous Board of Education vote held September 2020. At the conclusion of last school year, members of the Board of Education proposed eliminating school resource officers from our secondary schools. The proposal presented was scheduled to be revisited on September 14th of this school year. In September, several of my team members provided the Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee with background information on school resource officers and a data review of arrests conducted by all security personnel over the past 3 years. Next slide, please. On September 17th, the Board of Education approved 4 provisions. Add up to $5 million for enhanced mental health supports in the fiscal year 2020 budget, which is the process we're participating in right now. Receive the report presented to the Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee. Review the Prince George's County Police Reform Task Force report. Survey the Prince George's County Public School community to receive their input on school resource officers, and to provide the Board of Education with a status of school resource officers in the school system by January 8th, which was submitted this past Friday. Next slide, please. As an update, all required provisions have been met as outlined in the previous slide. Next, please. From December 21 through noon on January 8th, Prince George's County Public Schools conducted a brief survey to assess the community support of school resource officers in buildings and other school safety measures. There were a total of 13,027 respondents. As you can see, 45% of our staff completed the survey, with 39% of our parents, 13% of our students, and 3% of our community members. 82% of our survey respondents felt that the role of the school resource officer to maintain a safe and positive teaching and learning environment is important or very important. Next slide, please. 80% of the respondents felt that the SRO should be assigned to high schools. 70% felt that they should be assigned to middle schools, and 45% felt that they should be assigned to elementary schools. It's important to note that we currently only have school resource officers assigned to high schools. In addition, 61% of respondents have interacted with the school resource officer. Of the 61% who responded to that previous question, 92% of them have positive interactions with the school resource officer, while 8% of them had a negative experience. Even though a large percentage of people who interacted with the school resource officer had a positive experience, only 70% of all respondents agree that school resource officers build positive relationships with the school community. Next slide, please. While our respondents believe that 63% of all law enforcement officials, not just school resource officers, builds positive relationships within this community, question 6C was placed in the survey to assess if people understood that we really do not pay for school resource officers to support our high schools. And as you can see, 56% were neutral, while 35% agreed. So let me take this opportunity again to make sure that our Prince George's County Public School community knows that we do not pay for school resource officers in our operating budget. They are paid from the county government's budget as part of as a support to our students and staff. Next slide, please. On the last two questions, 94% of respondents support additional training for school resource officers to help de-escalate incidents. And if school resource officers were removed from schools, we asked who is best equipped to maintain a safe and positive teaching and learning environment. 75% say administrators, 14% educators, 8% family members, and 3% students. Lastly, I want to thank the Friendly High School senior class officers who decided to do their own survey and sent those results to me on Monday. And they shared a single question about whether students should keep police officers in schools. 147 students responded, 25 said no, and 122 said yes. I did have an opportunity to read all of the comments, and I am grateful for their student advocacy. Next slide, please. On December 4th, 2020, the Prince George's County Police Reform Work Group provided County Executive Angela Alsobrooks with a final report that includes substantive recommendations that will establish fair practices across the board, maximize transparency, and restore public trust in law enforcement. The Police Reform Work Group publicly conducted 2 community listening sessions and received over 35 presentations from public safety officials, academics, community advocates, government agencies, labor unions, and faith-based leaders. The work group presented 1 recommendation with 5 components to address school security and school resource officers. Their main recommendation was to invest funds into mental health programs and restorative approaches to student discipline to help dismantle the school to prison pipeline. Next slide, please. I am grateful that members of the Prince George's County Police Reform Work Group agree with the direction and priority of the Board of Education and myself as it relates to the investment in mental health supports to help our students and their families. We have made investments in finding ways to meet the needs of the whole child since 2018. While we do not have mental health supports in all of our schools, I am proud that we have 93 schools with mental health supports, 64 licensed mental health clinicians, and we use 7 providers. We will continue to train more staff annually on restorative approaches to reduce student discipline infractions. To date, we have trained 508 staff members on restorative approaches. Next slide. Item 1A recommends that we conduct an assessment on the role of our current school security personnel, and that personnel plays along with our school administration in implementing our student rights and responsibilities policy. We will conduct this assessment before the conclusion of the school year and make any necessary modifications for use for the next school year. Therefore, I accept the recommendation of the task force. Next slide. Item 1B recommends that we restructure our school resource officers and school security personnel. Arrest data from the last 3 years revealed that many of our student arrests came from our own security personnel, not school resource officers. A recommendation from the work group is to reduce security personnel with arrest powers, and for all remaining school security personnel, eliminate their ability to arrest students. While we are willing to do this, it is important to note that such provision may result in higher school resource officer arrest data. We will monitor data quarterly to ensure the intent of the recommendation is met. Lastly, I will ensure that school resource officers meet with Prince George's County Public School leadership quarterly to discuss ways we can support students to ensure a reduction in student arrest. Item 1B continues to also recommend that school resource officers wear soft uniforms, which are similar to other operational department uniforms and body cameras. I will explore the feasibility of this portion of the recommendation with our general counsel and the Prince George's County Police Department to ensure we are still able to comply with student rights and privacy laws. Lastly, I will work with the appropriate labor partners to discuss renaming school security for the 2021-2022 school year. Recommendation 1C recommends that we update school security training requirements. We will continue to provide escalation, mediation, and crisis intervention professional development to all school-based employees and will update annually our training to make sure it's consistent with current practices. Item 1D recommends that we establish school safety metrics to eventually phase out security personnel. I have charged our Chief Accountability Officer with establishing school safety metrics with optimal annual school safety milestones in an effort to meet this provision. We will capture this information on the school's dashboard so that all of our public can monitor and review. And lastly, item 1E recommends that we invest in prevention and intervention programming. When financially possible, we will prioritize funds to address student behavior concerns. We will continue to collaborate with the Prince George's County Department of Social Services and the state's attorney's office to implement crisis prevention strategies and diversion programs. Based on the information shared by the Prince George's County Police Reform Work Group, I accept their recommendations and seek the Board of Education's approval to move forward with implementing the recommendations presented tonight as part of a broader strategy to dismantle the school to prison pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Golson. What is before us is the CEO's recommendation. And I will now open the floor up for comments by board members. And I saw Mr. Valentine's hand first.
I just wanted to make a motion to accept the recommendations from Dr. Golson.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and second to accept the recommendations from Dr. Golson. Let's see. Are there any comments before we? I see Ms. Stafford.
I had a question regarding whether or not the survey was vetted through the Office of Research and Evaluation. Several of my constituents had questions regarding the survey being biased in that it's had several leading questions. We were surveying vulnerable subjects in that their employer was teachers were being surveyed by their employer, and it was not available in Spanish and did not include options to increase counselors. And so several folks have reached out to ask whether or not this survey was vetted or came through the Office of Research and Evaluation.
Yeah, so all of our surveys are disseminated, reviewed through our Research and Evaluation Office. Results go directly back to our Research and Evaluation Office. Myself nor anyone on our executive leadership team, other than the Chief Accountability Officer who oversees research and evaluation, has access to those reports. Our Research and Evaluation team then compiles an analysis, and then they send that analysis to myself, as well as post that analysis on the website. What was presented to the Board of Education on January 8th was a synopsis of that, of those results from that report, but there will also be in the Research and Evaluation website, there also comprehensive report that they analyze and provide as well. I do want to quickly take this opportunity though to just explain that the survey was offered in Spanish and in French. and that I do not see any of the staff responses and don't know any of the names of the employees or students or parents or community members that submitted that survey. So thank you for that question.
Just a reminder to everybody, I see hands going up, that for the first round of comments, please keep them limited to 5 minutes. And during the second round of comments, you receive only 3 minutes. And Ms. Ellis will be holding up a timer. So next I saw Ms. Ahmed's hand. Did you have a comment?
Madam Chair, thank you so much for recognizing me and Dr. Golson for that explanation. I also received the same concerns around the bias or lack of bias of the survey, and I do resonate with those. Having said that, this is coming from me, and I have a very clear perspective on this issue. I just wanted to share with new colleagues that may not be aware. I've been quite forward in my position to desire non-renewal of our school system's agreements with law enforcement agencies. And that is not the recommendation that the task force came forward with. With that being said, I do appreciate and support some of the recommendations of the task force, specifically the provisions around removing arrest authority, investing in mental health supports, and also providing training to security personnel. But in doing some of my homework and looking through all of the recommendations of the task force, looking through Dr. Golson's materials, it's clear that there is a lot of this that warrants further policy conversation. And I don't know that we even to this date have had the space to be able to talk about this and come to some agreements as colleagues about what we think is appropriate for given this topic. And so I'd like to put a substitute motion on the floor to have this conversation continue in the policy committee so that we can come forward with some recommendations after having some authentic, clear discussion with each other and hashing out some details.
Second motion. Second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed and Mr. Thomas. However, we already have a motion on the floor that has been seconded.
Yes, Dr. Miller, as a point of order, this is a substitute motion to that motion, and I believe that means that this will be considered before the other motion.
Mhm.
So repeat your motion, Ms. Ahmed, your substitute motion.
Sure. The motion is to take this presentation and the task force recommendations and present them and discuss them in the policy committee, where the committee can then discuss and provide detailed recommendation to the Board of Education at a future meeting.
So my understanding of your motion is to table this?
No, it's to discuss this, to send it to committee for further discussion, to eventually come back to the Board of Education with a recommendation.
Dr. Miller, I think Roger Thomas could provide some clarification on a motion that is put forth that is different from the superintendent. Mr. Roger Thomas?
Mr. Thomas, unmute yourself. Roger Thomas.
So the superintendent has presented her recommendation. There was a motion and a second made on the superintendent's recommendation. Ms. Ahmad has now presented a substitute motion, and I believe there was a second on the substitute motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I think what would be appropriate procedurally at this point is for the board to take a vote on whether or not it wants to approve the substitute motion at issue at this point.
Can you please verify the vote count for this, please?
All in favor? Well, can we have a roll call on that, Ms. Ellis?
Just one moment, Dr. Miller. I was asking Mr. Roger Thomas to provide the vote required to pass.
Oh, okay, for clarification.
Yes.
Okay, so this would involve a recommendation of the CEO which apparently at least some of the board members are not ready to proceed moving forward with, and instead have proposed the substitute motion that Ms. Ahmed spoke of. So in order to pass that substitute motion, you would require a 2/3 vote since it contradicts the recommendation of the CEO.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, I need to see a hand. And I have 3 hands. Please do not shout out. I'd appreciate the respect of all of our colleagues. I think the question is, if there's a substitute motion on the floor, I'm just trying to get an understanding, that vote would require 2/3, which would be 9 votes. And the student member cannot vote. If the student member cannot vote, how, and I need clarification on whether the student member can vote on this motion. Mr. Thomas?
Yes. Madam Chair, the student board member would be permitted to vote on this motion.
Okay, then we will, then if the student member can vote, then we need 10 votes.
That is correct.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, I apologize, Mr. Joshua Thomas, your hand was up.
Dr. Miller, I think Mr. Burrows, I know you mentioned that his hand wasn't raised, but I think he was raising a point of order, which was in relation to the procedure. So I was just asking that you recognize Mr. Burrows.
Okay, well, he could have put his hand up. Mr. Burrows, I'm yielding to you.
Mr. Thomas, can you please cite the section of law that you're referencing? Because I think we are, can you please cite the section of law that you're referencing?
Sure, I'm citing the provision from the Education Article, Maryland Annotated Code that requires there to be a vote of 2/3 if the board is going to take an action contrary to the recommendation of the CEO on matters that fall within her authority.
So, Mr. Thomas, you just said that you were citing that would require the board to need 2/3 vote in a matter that falls under the superintendent authority. I guess I have the law in front of me, so you can read it verbatim.
Sure, I will. All right, it reads as follows. 2/3 votes required except for personnel matters and appeals of personnel matters in accordance with section 4-205C2 and 3 of this title and 6202 of this article. The county board shall require 2/3 vote of all voting board members to take an action that is contrary to an action of the chief executive officer. That language appears in section 4-403 of the Maryland Annotated Code Education Article.
Yes, when I first asked you the question, Mr. Thomas, you said that in order to overturn an action of the superintendent, that the superintendent is, in order to overturn a decision that the superintendent is recommending, it requires a 2/3 vote. And then when I asked you to cite it directly from the law says an action. I think there's a fundamental difference between a recommendation of the superintendent and an action of the superintendent.
Well, in this instance, the superintendent and Dr. Goldson can certainly clarify what her intent is here, but it appears that the superintendent has recommended that her action in this particular scenario would be to accept the recommendations that are outlined in this report, correct?
That is accurate, and that's also what I placed on the last slide of the presentation.
Right, and that's why, based upon what the statutory language is, that's what the recommendation that I made to the board on the vote required. If the board wants to take a different position, that is up to you all, but I'm giving you my interpretation of what I believe the statute requires.
So
Ms. Burrows?
So there are a couple of things that I would like to raise. Number one, colleagues, coming into this meeting, I was told that this was a discussion item and there would not be a vote. If I would have known that there would been a vote and that agreement was not going to be fulfilled, I would have had the section of law with me, and we could have had a more thorough conversation. But to have a motion come out of discussion when the agreement was that this would be a simple discussion item is disheartening and disappointing. These are very important recommendations that deal with school to prison pipeline in a majority Black and brown school district. And so, I would urge our colleagues to have this discussion in committee. I know I wanted to meet with our security guards, and I spoke with the union last night about setting up a listening session with me and school system personnel so that I can learn more about the issue. I also wanted to have some discourse with my constituents around these recommendations. And when I was told that this would be a discussion, I thought that's what it was. And it is very disheartening to hear a motion on the floor. I also question the ruling or advice that we just received, and that's something else that I would like to talk about in executive session. And so for all those reasons, as the chair would say, as a matter of professional courtesy on this item, I would ask that we don't take a vote today on this, but we thoroughly discuss it, that we review the elements of the law to ensure that what we're being advised of is correct, so that we can avoid any legal battle around this topic. Not only that, so that we can collaborate with our union stakeholders, our families, our students around this subject is too important. We as a board haven't even discussed these recommendations collaboratively yet. This is the first time that these recommendations are being presented. So I thought we would discuss each recommendation one by one as a body and try to build consensus, but that's not possible to do because the agreement that we had was broken. And so I hope we could do what we say we were going to do as it relates to this topic.
At this point in time, I'm going to interject that my understanding was that this is going to be a discussion item as well. And with that, I will extend the professional courtesy of, in terms of parliamentary procedure, I will rescind the vote if I have the authority to do that and table this item or this agenda item to extend the professional. Mr. Burrows, can I see you? I don't see you. Are you still in the meeting? To extend the professional courtesy to Mr. Burrows per his request for further discussion and research on this. So I guess I'm taking I'm making an administrative decision to override a motion on the floor. Now, I don't know whether that's proper protocol. Who's going to give me the authority not to do this? I mean, give me the authority to do this in terms of Robert's Rules of Order. Because it is on my agenda as a discussion item. Mr. Roger Thomas.
Madam Chair, you made the motion to table the item. The board would now be voting on the motion to table. And there would be no discussion on that motion.
Then may I have a motion to table this item?
So move.
Who made the motion?
You.
Joshua Thomas.
Well, you did. You did.
You did make the motion.
Okay, well, I'm making the motion to table it.
Yes.
Second.
All right, it has been moved and second that we table the discussion, further discussion, the CEO's recommendation for school safety and security. And I have to inject at this time, I'm just getting both sides. Well, I'm just getting information on this too as the new chair. And it would afford me an opportunity as well to hear of the other side of the positions on the other side of this issue. So with that, I thank you for your cooperation, and we will table this.
We haven't voted yet, Doc. We haven't voted yet.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Ellis is prepared to call the roll if you would like, Dr. Miller.
Okay. It has been moved and second that we table the the CEO's recommendations for the, to maintain the SROs in the school system. Is that
Dr. Miller, just at a point of clarification, Principal
Sure.
Thomas, is this a majority vote or 2/3 vote even for this one as well? I just wanted to be clarity. Dr. Thomas, you are muted.
Mr. Thomas? Okay,
This would be a majority vote on the motion to table, and the student board member vote would count. Did you hear me? Could you hear me?
yes, you said,
Okay. Thank you.
so the motion to table supersedes the former motion.
And Ms. Ellis is available to call the roll.
All in favor to table this
I'm gonna
motion?
call the roll one by one.
I didn't understand you, Mr. Valentine.
I'm gonna call the roll one by one, so we'll vote individually.
Yes. Ms. Ellis?
Mrs. Adams Stafford,
Aye.
Mrs. Ahmed,
Aye.
Ms. Boozer Strother,
Aye.
Mr. Burrows,
Aye.
Mr. Harris, Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Ms. Jackson,
Aye.
Mr. Montero,
Aye.
Mr. Murray,
Aye.
Mrs. Queen,
Aye.
Mrs. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Aye.
Mr. Valentine,
Aye.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Dr. Miller.
Yes. Thank you, colleagues, and I appreciate your cooperation on this request. With that, this item will come up for vote at the February board meeting. So any research, interviews, whatever is needed to make a final decision on this recommendation will come before this body in February. Thank you. Okay, now to our consent agenda. Next is Dr. Golson. Please introduce items 5.1 through 5.4.
Items 5.1 through 5.4 requires board approval of proclamations commemorating observance of the following in February 2021. African American Read-In Month, National African American History Month, Career and Technical Education Month, and Black Lives Matter Week of February 1st through the 5th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved in second to approve this consent agenda. Are there any items board members wish to remove from this agenda? Well, we've already voted, moved to vote on it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
I did want to make just one note that item 5.4 is actually presented from board member Ahmed, not from administration.
Okay. And while I'm thinking about Ms. Ahmed, this is not the item you want to remove. It was in the 600s, am I correct? Where is she?
You are correct, Dr. Miller.
Okay. All in favor, all in favor of accepting the consent agenda, may I get the ayes?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? This agenda has been approved and accepted by this board. Now I have, we will move to the budget consent agenda. Next is our, I'm going to pull items 6.8. I've been asked to pull items 6.8 and 6.7. So Dr. Golson, would you please introduce items 6.1 through 6.6? 6.5, I don't think there is a 6.
I will be presenting item 6.1 through 6.6.
6, yes.
6.1 through 6.6 requires board approval of an RFP for school-based and private duty nurse services, February 2021 expenditure requirements, approval of a change order for work at Bowie High School Annex, Bond Mill Elementary School, and payment for work at Gwen Park High School.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and second to accept the items 6.1 through 6.6 on the budget consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It has been moved and second and approved for items 6.1 through 6.6 to be added to the budget consent agenda. Item 6.7 was pulled by the request of Ms. Ahmed, Board Member Ahmed. Number 6.8. I need some clarification, and I don't mind hesitating to, I don't mind bringing out that I'm just not clear on when you pull it from the budget consent agenda, where does it, will it still be a part of for a vote?
Madam Chair, yes. We are just going to vote on these two items separately. So similarly to when you called on the group, call on these two individually.
Okay, all right. I think I got it. So I'm pulling 6.8 from the consent agenda.
It's still on the consent agenda. It is just being voted on separately. So we'll start with 6.7.
Okay.
And then we will, after that, we take that vote, we will vote on 6.8.
Okay, well, we did take the vote for 6.1 through 6.6. Am I correct? 6.7 was asked, Ms. Ahmed asked me to pull that, so it's no longer on the agenda. So the only item.
It's still on the agenda. We will just have Dr. Golson introduce that item, and then we will ask for a motion. And once the motion has been placed and there's a second, we will have an opportunity to discuss.
Okay.
Dr. Miller, by pull, we mean separate. When we say pull, we mean separate, that's all.
Okay, well, I'm learning. This is a little different from what I'm used to. Okay, so then it's been separated. So now we're up for item 6.8.
6.7 first. We will have Dr. Golson.
She froze. Dr. Golson.
Yeah, 6.7.
We pulled 6.7.
Yeah.
Someone has a question.
I move to approve item 6.7.
I second.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, Dr. Miller, if we could, who made the motion? I had the second, but not who made the motion.
This is Edward Burrows. I move to
Okay.
item 6.7.
Okay,
To
thank you for that
separate
clarification.
6.7, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're ready, Dr. Miller, Mrs. Ellis could call the roll for the vote on 6.7 unless there's discussion.
Ms. Ahmed has her hand.
Ms. Ahmed?
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Colleagues, I understand that this is a very important project to the board. I just wanted, and that's why I wanted to explain my vote on this. Colleagues, number one, this is a $4.5 million change order That is a lot for a project that I believe should have already had a contingency plan and already had a previous change order for $5 million. Number two, I see the justification for about $500,000 worth of that change order, but not clearly for the other $4 million. And so for those reasons, I will not be voting in favor of this change order. Again, this is just an explanation of why I'm voting in this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we prepared to vote on this item? Oh, Ms. Queen?
Yes, thank you so very much, Madam Chair. And I just want to say to you all, I appreciate you guys, however you're going to vote, but this is very important to the students of Central High School who for 2 years have been inconvenienced with a move through this HVAC system. And when they go back to Central High School, we did not just want them to just go back to a regular school. When they go back to this school, even though the building is a strong old building, this project is giving it a chance to be refurbished and done so much. These students will be so proud to go back to that school and for that, and not only the students, the community members. So I ask for your strong support to make sure it was so much done if you look at it in the rebranding and also in the repairs to Central High School, from the windows, from the floors, from the roof. And if you really look back on it, it was almost like the school had to be refurbished almost all over again. So unfortunately, yes, it's a big cost, but it's a well-needed cost to make sure our children are in a school that is conducive to their having a good educational learning. So again, no matter how you vote, I do appreciate you and thank you for your vote.
Dr. Miller, are you frozen?
Like she may be.
I think she may be. As Vice Chair, I'll step in and ask Ms. Ellis to call the vote.
Mrs. Adams Stafford,
Yes.
Mrs. Ahmed, Ms. Boozer Strother,
Yes.
Mr. Burrows,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Montero,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mrs. Queen,
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Aye.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Dr. Miller.
Lost Dr. Miller.
She was dropped off.
That was Jesus.
And can you total the vote, Ms.?
Sure. It's 1 absent and 12 yeses.
1 abstain?
One no.
One nay by the.
And 1 no, I apologize. 1 no, 1 absent, and then 11 yeses.
So with the 11 votes, it appears that that item has passed.
Thank you all very much.
Dr. Juanita is having trouble with her network, and she's going to log in as soon as she's able. There she is. She's coming in now.
Everybody froze on me and then I got frozen out.
Mhm.
And I got real nervous. And so I hope I didn't miss anything. And I apologize to the public, but this is technology. And I guess some of the quirks that we have to, we will be confronted with at times. So I thank you for your patience. Now, is everybody back on board? Ms. Queen, you were giving your comments in reference to Central High School. And I don't know where everybody else left off, but I was the last one to hear. I think I was the last one hearing because everybody froze.
Yes, they heard the comments, Dr. Miller, and we did the vote, and the vote passed 11 to 1 absent. Unfortunately, that was you and 1 no. Thank you so very much.
So now we're on agenda item 6.8, Dr. Miller.
Yes. This is the contract for lobbying.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion.
Did we clarify what that was? Did you say?
No, I didn't finish. Mr. Burrows was real anxious. And I just needed to, I'm still recovering from the fact that you all went on and voted on this other item, 6.7, understanding that that was a technical glitch, not a glitch of the chairs. So I want the public to understand that I would have wanted to be in on that vote. But I had no control over what happened. So I'm just.
So point of order, if we can allow the chair to cast her vote, I would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Moving forward, yes.
Does that, Mr. Thomas, does that require any, motion on the board's behalf? Or are we, are we able to just kind of allow her to retroactively cast her vote here? How would that work, Mr. Thomas?
Gotta unmute Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, sir.
We still can't hear you, Mr.
Mr. Thomas, Mr. Thomas, we can't hear you, sir.
Sorry. So if the board is in consensus, it is appropriate for you all to allow the board chair to cast her vote, especially since she was precluded from doing so due to the technical glitch, and your recording secretary can then capture and record it for the record.
And that's what I would like to have it recorded for the record, that it was a consensus vote by the board. Were there any nays for my information?
There was
Oh, wow.
12 yeses with your vote, 1 no, and I'm sorry, and the board, student board member cannot vote.
Okay,
12.
thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Queen, Mr. Valentine, I saw your hand first.
I had a question on Mr. Burrows' motion, so I don't know if you wanted to go to that point now or not.
Well, you can ask the question.
Sure. So as Mr. Burrows being the maker of the motion, I just had a couple questions regarding the contract and the selection of the lobbyists, if that's okay.
Was there a second on Mr. Burrows' motion before discussion?
I believe Mr. Joshua Thomas seconded.
Yes, it was a
That's
second.
correct. I did second that.
So this is just discussion.
Yes, ma'am. I guess to Mr. Burrow, I think you may be able to help me, but there may be other members of the board who can clarify just the process of which was done in order to select the lobbyist. One. Second question I had was, in the resume that you attached in board doc does not demonstrate that she has experience as a lobbyist. While she worked with the county council as a staff member, doesn't show that she has experience actually as a lobbyist. And so can you speak to just her experience? Us giving a contract to someone to do something she, at least not her resume, has not demonstrated having the experience to do so. So that kind of gets to the first question about the selection process. Also, when you're thinking about if she is selected, you think about her scope of work. Will it be based on the current legislative agenda and subsequent votes we take at board meetings, up or down on issues? And then lastly, the question around compensation of this $10,000 a month. In my experience, that seems steep. Can you speak to that amount and how that was negotiated as it relates to similar lobbying contracts the system has gone through that are much lower? I'm just asking in part because it's for the public consumption to be very transparent about how we make selections, how we spend taxpayer money, especially in a time when there's presumed budget cuts coming. So thank you very much for your responses, sir.
Madam Chair, do I have the floor?
Yes, you have the floor and you only have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna do it in one. So the first thing that I want to mention is that colleagues, we agreed that from the last meeting to this meeting, if there were any questions, comments, and concerns, that those would be submitted in writing to me prior to today's meeting so that I could answer them very thoroughly. Unfortunately, I'm just now getting these questions on the floor. I will say, as far as whether our lobbyists will follow our legislative agenda, absolutely. I believe our lobbyists will attend Madam Chairwoman Ahmed's committees and work very closely with that committee around our legislative priorities. There's a question around budget. This will be funded 100% within the board's existing office budget, and we will not need any additional resources at all in order to successfully do this. And Madam Chair, since I have the floor, I'd like to call the question.
Second.
Mr. Burrows, can I follow up? Just since I was, having a back and forth, Mr. Burrows, can I finish that?
No, we were not, Ms. Valentine, having a back and forth. I asked the chair if I had the floor, and I've called the question.
Understood, but there was a question that I asked that you did not answer, that's all.
Is that something that can be resolved offline, sir?
Well, I like that answer before I cast my vote, because my
Okay.
vote is conditional on the response, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Burrows, do you choose to respond?
No, ma'am.
This is a serious matter, not a comedy. Thank you. Please mute your mics. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Well, apparently there's not, because he refused to answer the question, but I guess he called for the question, so right now the discussion is over.
Okay. Now I'm calling for the vote. All in favor of item 6.8, the contract for lobbying services?
Can we have Ms. Ellis do one by one, please?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Adams Stafford,
Yes.
Mrs. Ahmed,
Aye.
Ms. Boozer Strother,
No.
Mr. Burrows,
Yes.
Mr. Harris. I didn't hear you, sir. Will you repeat once more? It's staticky.
I don't see Mr. Harris.
Montero,
Is he still on? Mr.
He
Harris? Mr. Harris, did he vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis?
he gave a thumbs up. Mr. Montero,
No.
Mr. Murray,
Aye.
Mrs. Queen,
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd,
No.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Absolutely not.
Mrs. Williams,
For $120,000 a year, no.
Dr. Miller,
I'm abstaining because I'm just getting it into this, and this is something that has been brought up prior to my coming on board. So I will be the one abstention because I need further discussion on it. However, the vote passes with a 7-5 vote. Therefore, and one abstention. The motion carries. We move on to the next. There are none on the non-consent agenda and into the new business. Next on our agenda are 2 items for the first reader. According to policy 9360, the board will only vote to accept these for first reader. And then the items will be scheduled for second reader during our next board meeting. 8.1. Ms. Boozer Strother, would you please introduce this item?
All right, thank you so much, Chair Miller and colleagues, for this opportunity to present the Climate Change Action Plan Focus Work Group. I will be joined by student member of the board, Ms. Nina Jackson, for this introduction. Colleagues may recall that during the budget hearings of 2020, we heard testimony from parents, students, and community leaders on climate action, climate education, electric buses, and clean energy schools. I want to thank these advocates who came from Eleanor Roosevelt High School, Greenbelt Climate Action Network, CHISPA, and the new Climate Action Parents of Prince George's County. That evening, this new coalition committed to working with the Board of Education on a comprehensive planning process that is now represented in the Climate Change Action Focus Work Group. I want to extend my thanks to Joseph Jakuda, PGCPS parent and leader of Climate Action Parents of Prince George's County, for his commitment to working with me to develop a comprehensive work plan and identifying and inviting experts in each of the 7 mission areas that include building construction, maintenance and operations, electricity, transportation, food waste, materials and waste cycles, stormwater and land management, and education and awareness. The experts who will serve on the work group are volunteering their time and expertise to ensure Board of Education of PGCPS takes effective action on climate change to protect current and future students, their families, and the communities in which we live. I thank each of these experts for their commitment. And I thank all of my colleagues for their consideration of this first reader. And Chair Miller, I now ask for student member of the board, Ms. Nina Jackson, to be recognized for additional introductory remarks.
Ms. Johnson, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, it was just this morning that I was on my phone, surfing through Twitter, procrastinating on AP Calculus homework, when I got a notification from the Washington Post with the headline, 2020 rivals hottest year on record, pushing Earth closer to a critical climate threshold. Now, this article didn't say anything new that we haven't heard already from experts, scientists, researchers, climate organizations, and our students right here in Prince George's County. Across our 9 districts, there are students wholly committed and dedicated to ensuring that we save the one inhabitable planet that we have, the only Earth that we have. There are students who have made lifestyle changes to ensure that they minimize their carbon footprint, students who are utilizing their green thumb to give back the greenery and vegetation that has been destroyed in the name of commerce, students who are sacrificing their free time to advocate to local leaders and officials the changes they want to see, and so much more. In fact, 2 of these student advocates for climate action attend Flowers High School in Board District 4, serve on my SMOB Advisory Council, and will be serving on the proposed Climate Change Action Plan Focus Work Group, Ms. Nanette Amahir and Asia Gray. I want to thank Ms. Boozer Struthers for not only working with local community leaders to devise this proposal, but I want to thank her for extending me the opportunity to co-present this to the board and to the public. As one of the largest school districts in the country, it's imperative that we collectively commit ourselves to taking this step towards securing the future of our young people and of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Joshua Thomas, comment.
I wanted to make a motion to for the board to proceed with accepting this proposal to establish the focus work group.
Second.
It's been moved in second to accept the proposal, the environmental proposal by Mrs. Boozer Struther. Are there, well, is there any discussion? If not, we'll move for the vote. All in favor to
Dr.
approve?
Miller, it looks like Ms. Ahmed has her hand raised.
Okay, Ms. Ahmed, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. No, colleagues, I just wanted to reiterate the importance of this group. I think we, as mentioned by Ms. Jackson and Ms. Boozer Struther, there have been instances of folks coming to us and bringing to the attention of this board the importance of making sure that we are doing what is right by the environment. And I think the work and hopefully the recommendations that come forward from this work group will be able to guide us in the direction that we need for our future generations. So I just wanted to echo my support of this work group and thank both Ms. Boozer Struther and Ms. Jackson for bringing it forward.
Thank you. There was, you froze at the last.
I think Roger Thomas also has his hands up, Dr. Miller.
I know, but the message came, it said my internet was not connected or something, and some of you froze because Ms. Ahmed's last comment was frozen. Mr. Joshua Thomas.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I just wanted to also echo the same remarks from Ms. Ahmed. I think that this is a great way in which we can lead in terms of our role as a large school district in this country and in the state. And I think it really sets a really great example for our students in terms of the ways that we're thinking about supporting their learning, but in an environmentally friendly way. And so I just want to echo Ms. Ahmed's points. That's obviously evident in my moving to support to push this focus work group forward, and also want to commend Ms. Boozer-Strother and Ms. Jackson for your leadership here, and want to be able to support in whatever way I can. Thanks. And I know that, yeah, I'm sorry.
I know there's a motion on the floor to approve this. However, I did not give Dr. Golson an opportunity to have any comments. You didn't have any? Mr. Roger Thomas, I saw your hand. You have to come off unmute yourself.
Just for clarification, did the board intend to have this listed as a first reader for this evening and to vote on it when it comes back on a second reader? I was just looking at the.
No, my understanding is that we're voting for it to approve it, to come back to second reader, not to necessarily vote, but to approve it going forth on the first reader. Any other comments? Ms. Ellis, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Adam Stafford,
Yes.
Mrs. Ahmed,
Yes.
Ms. Boozer-Strother,
Yes.
Mr. Burrows,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Montero,
Yes.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mrs. Queen,
Yes.
Mrs. Shepherd,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Aye.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Dr. Miller.
Yes.
14 yeses.
It is the consensus of this board that we will move Ms. Strother's item 8.1 climate action plan for a focus work group has been approved for it to move to the second reader. Okay, the next item, 8.2 equity learning hubs. Ms. Adams Stafford, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So good evening, colleagues. This evening, I'm here to present a possible framework for solution to an issue facing many of our students.
Adams,
Equality is,
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
make a motion to accept it before you got into.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I'd like to move to vote on this as a first reader.
Second.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So this evening, I would like to present a possible framework for a solution to an issue facing many of our students. Equality is about giving everyone the same thing. And a commitment to equity means meeting students and families where they are and giving each student what they need to succeed. For many of our students and families, they will need more than a device, and it's important that we set in place some type of in-person learning option for our students that fall in higher risk groups. For example, our English language learners, our special needs students, and students with chronic absences. And most importantly, our students that are at the margins, students in foster care, and students experiencing homelessness. In advance of this meeting, I've shared with our board examples of several models being used locally and nationally in order to address this need. It's important to keep in mind that this is simply a proposal and that once in the Academic Achievement Committee, we'll be able to collaborate with our school system leaders, parents, community leaders, and local experts to assess the effectiveness of our current offering, flesh out the details of this plan. Ultimately, it will be a collaboration across various county agencies to ensure that we provide students with support at this time. On January 12th, the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools led a countywide event with over 50 parents representing 35 schools. In this session, parents discussed their challenges with virtual learning. One parent said, a big challenge is keeping kids engaged in learning when the parents are working or unavailable, or if no one speaks English to support students or has the technical know-how to troubleshoot the apps, particularly our younger students are falling behind. So I'd like to present the concept of equity learning hubs. Learning hubs provide a free option for highly impacted students that includes on-site support during the school day operated by an adult, which could be a variety of people. And so I think that's something that we'll be able to discuss further in our academic achievement committee. I would like to discuss a plan for a pilot of learning hubs for 4 schools and approximately 200 students. We would use this opportunity to structure the program, discuss how to fund it using both federal, state, and local funding, and really assess the zip codes with the highest needs to support those students. We will be able to prioritize students that have been identified with special education and also students that are English language learners. So I'd like to just thank you for your consideration in hearing the concept of this idea. I also have sent out several email communications, including a frequently asked questions to board colleagues, and I would like to open it for discussion. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stafford. Dr. Golson, do you have any comments?
No, it's so much conversation around first reader. I thought first reader was not for discussion. I'll provide my list of 13 questions around this proposal in the Academic Achievement Committee.
Thank you. Well, are there any other comments from board members?
I had my hand raised, Dr. Miller.
A lot of hands are raised.
Oh, well, Mr. Valentine.
I just, not much discussion on the motion. I just wanted to thank colleague Adam Stafford on her initiative, on her ability to connect with the board members. Very collaborative. I've had a number of conversations with her. I'm incredibly impressed by her as a colleague. I'm on the Academic Achievement Committee. She's a chair. I look forward to working with her and having the conversation around this. And bringing it back on second reader after having gone through that conversation. And so I just want to thank her for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Mr. Joshua Thomas.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. I do believe there were others ahead of me. I'll be quick. I just want to echo my support for this. Currently in terms of these kinds of learning hubs and extra opportunities outside of what's being offered through our virtual instruction, we don't have a whole lot of additional resources. And so this is just something to be able to really lend a support to families and students in need. I'm so excited to support this. I look forward to seeing it continue to grow and improve in the Academic Achievement Committee. And when it comes back to us in second reader. So I just want to say also that I appreciate Ms. Adam Stafford for leading on this. I'm so glad that I've been such a strong supporter of you. And so I look forward to voting yes on this.
And that's for it to go to second reader. This is just a discussion, all right? Mr. Montero.
Sure, I just want to thank Ms. Adam Stafford for her innovation in bringing this to the board. And reaching out to us proactively. We had a good conversation, I think, yesterday to talk through some of my questions. And as I mentioned, in terms of my view of this board as governance, not management, making sure that Dr. Golson's 13 questions or however many questions are answered as we look at a pilot here. But I appreciate your initiative and the energy you're bringing to looking at this issue. So I'll be supporting you tonight.
Ms. Queen.
I just want to ditto my colleagues and thanking again Ms. Stafford for bringing this. And as Mr. Montano just say that this board is management, we are the what, and Dr. Golson is the how. So I'm glad that the
governance.
Taylor brought the what, and I'm sure Dr. Golson is going to make it work. It's so much needed, and with you all, I've already shared my opinion on it. I just want to make sure that it is equity across the board, and these hubs are put in an area where each of our students across the county can access it. So again, I thank you so very much. And as I close and just saying this, you guys, distinct learning has been a challenge for some, and then it has been a blessing for others. And we got to remember that we've been a school system where kids have always went to school and they did well inside, but it was some kids who were sitting in the classroom and they didn't do that well. And they're doing even better now at home with distinct learning. So with being diverse, we need to be able to reach each and every one of our students, and we need to continue to be a diverse school system. So again, I thank you for bringing this to us.
Ms. Ahmed?
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Colleagues, although we've done a lot to help our students at the margins, I don't know about y'all, but during this pandemic, I've been quite fearful that we haven't been doing enough to make sure that we are bridging that learning gap. And so for those reasons, I thank Ms. Adams Stafford for bringing this forward as a possible solution. And I actually want to encourage to see if there are other ways that the Academic Achievement Committee moving forward can do that work in identifying how to further bridge the gap in learning for our students at the margins.
Thank you. Mr. Burrows? Your mic is off.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I really want to sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank colleague Adam Stafford for, as Mr. Montero described, a very innovative pilot. You know, when I cast my vote yes for this tonight, I think about our students with special needs. I think about our students who are on free and reduced meals. I think about our students whose primary caregiver works outside the home. I think about our students who are struggling deeply with distance learning, and this innovation that Ms. Adam Stafford has provided is going to make a big difference. And I love the way you phrase it, Ms. Adam Stafford, when you talk about equity. And this school district is committed to leading the state in equity. And because we're serious about that, we must do initiatives like you've just proposed. And so I just really want to thank you for your leadership. It really helps having a nationally board certified teacher here with us, and you're already letting your expertise as a national expert shine. So I thank you. I also want to thank the chair for her leadership and having the board collaborate and work so well together around these issues that mean so much to our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burrows. Any more comments? I don't see any more hands. I'm calling for the vote. All in favor of this item of Equity Learning Hubs moving to the second reader, say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next, there are no follow-up items to be posted. So next will be a motion to confirm actions taken in executive session. May I have a motion and a second to approve the following actions taken in executive session on today? They are to receive a report from the CEO regarding the administration of the school system, to discuss personnel matters regarding the appointment, employment, and removal of certain employees, decide appeals and receive legal advice about appeals and constituent concern, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on legal matters, to discuss an investigative proceeding on actual or possible criminal contact. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Madam Chair, I make the motion. Madam Chair,
second
I move to approve actions taken in executive session today, but also for January 6th and for December 10th.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
The motion has been moved in second. May I, would you signify by saying aye or nay?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? None. Any abstentions? The motion, Mr. Harris, were you going to say something? The motion carries. Okay, the actions taken in the executive session are confirmed. Now may I have a motion second to approve any, to approve adjournment?
Dr. Miller, if I could make a brief comment, I just want to congratulate you on completing your first meeting as board chair.
Yes.
We are glad to have you on board. And I think by the looks of the screens, I'm looking around, seems like that comment is resonating with my colleagues. So glad to have you here, and congratulations on completing your first meeting. With that being stated, I make a motion to adjourn.
Thomas, I'm sorry, do we recognize Ms. Jackson for winning the Posse Scholarship? I'm not sure we recognized her for that. She got a full ride, so
Go on, girl.
I'm just saying, I want to
Congratulations to our student board
for
members.
her parents too. She said her parents a bunch of money. This for her parents too.
Right, that's right. That's right.
Personal privilege for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, Ms. Jackson. And with that being stated, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Second, Ms. Ahmed, second. It has been moved and second to adjourn this meeting. And before we close, I'd just like to thank all of you, my colleagues, for your cooperative and collaborative spirit, and how we have addressed our constituency and the issues that are before us. We will be working together diligently and harmoniously in the future. Again, I'd like to thank everyone who participated tonight on this Zoom meeting, and prayerfully, eventually, and soon, we will come out of this pandemic and be back in meeting in person. In the meantime, let's celebrate Dr. King's birthday with safety and security. And I suggest that if you plan to go downtown, stay home and enjoy it on TV. This is a historical occasion for our students, and I hope and trust that you will be providing some kind of community service. Make this a community service day, not a day for shopping, but a day for educating our general public and our students that of Mr. King's accomplishments, as well as many of the other leaders in whose shoulders we are walking on. With that, good night and God bless you.
Point of order, did we vote on that?
Oh, well, my apologies. I'm so excited. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries to adjourn. Good night.
Good night. Happy New Year, everyone.